This time 10 years ago, it was about to make front-page news because of the US-led invasion. Is it now time for the tourists to return to Iraq? A decade on, visit the other Iraq outsiders seldom see.
We've watched over the course of 20 years a region emerge from the ashes of that disaster to become a very dynamic, democratic society.
We check into a hotel in Sweden that's low on amenities but high on raising the issue of homelessness.
This is your room, yeah. Room service has not been here yet.
And
the app that rates the walkability of your streets, and Air New Zealand's latest in-flight safety video answers the call of the wild. That's online check-in later in the programme.
hello and welcome to Fast Track. I'm Fiona Foster. Stay with us for the next half hour because we're going to bring you some vacation inspiration, some ideas for your next trip, and hopefully a few useful travellers' tips thrown in for good measure. But we start today's world whistle-stop tour in Iraq. Perhaps not the first place you think of when you're talking about holidays. But 10 years after the US-led invasion, maybe that's about to change. Theopi Skarlotos reports now from Kurdistan in the north of the country.
Forget Route 66 and all the other American highways. I've come to what they call the other Iraq for a very different type of road trip. Why would you come here, you ask? Well, you're about to find out. In a country ravaged by war, the semi-autonomous northern area of Kurdistan is considered by most travel advisories as relatively safe. Thanks to a no-fly zone introduced in 1991 to protect the Kurds from Saddam Hussein, the region has had more of a chance to repair and develop than the south. Disputed areas are still dangerous and a no-go, but for the most part you're free to hit the open road. This particular one, built by New Zealander Archibald Hamilton almost 100 years ago, is heralded as an engineering feat, and it goes all the way to Iran. When Hamilton first started building this road in the late 1920s, nobody thought he could do it. Aside from uniting all of the tribesmen who were working for him, he also had to chisel and dynamite his way through all of these mountains. In the summer, hundreds flock here from Iran, Turkey and Egypt. Although areas in the south of Iraq like Ur and Babylon are beautiful and rich in history, many people who live there travel north for time out.
We do picnicking, we see this nice sceneries, it's beautiful weather in the summer, and in the winter it's nice as well. So we just enjoy ourselves, and the area is developing further.
طبعا بغداد مو أمينة أولاً، وهنا كلش أمان، ناس محترمين يحترمون العرب هواية، زين، وكلش نحب نجي هنا لأن صيف شتاء صارت هي مصايف إلنا أولاً، لأن أوضاع الأمنية وشي حلو هنا كلش.
At this time of year though, the cold winter months bring a different type of scenery. The views of snow-capped mountains and villages are best enjoyed from a height. We're now at the top of Korek Mountain. It's the second highest mountain in Kurdistan. Amazing views, and in a couple of years' time, it's hoped that tourists will come here to ski down these slopes. Money has been pouring in from international companies since the regional government opened the doors to domestic and foreign investment in 2006. This year, with more of a focus on the tourism industry, the government predicts around $7 billion worth of investment. 24 airlines now fly into Erbil Airport, and more than 500 3- to 4-star hotels have been built.
When I arrived here in January of 1992, there was very little in this country that had not been demolished. 4,500 villages, 95% of the country had been destroyed by Saddam Hussein. Many villages gassed. There were no eggs to buy in the bazaar because the chickens had all been killed. There was nothing, little fuel, few cars. And we have watched over the course of 20 years a region emerge from the ashes of that disaster to become a very dynamic, democratic society and becoming a very prosperous society.
Now, of course, there are eggs and chickens and a great deal more. Erbil has just been named Arab Tourism Capital of 2014 by the Arab Council of Tourism. According to the government, 2 million people visited the region last year. This year, it hopes that figure will rise to 5 million.
مثلا قلاي هولير مثلا اگر جيجا مثلا اركولوجيا كان باسكي مثلا قلاي هولير ك كونترين جيجا لميجي بشريت ك تا استا اويتي دا هي يعني سوق جيجس دانشتنا يعني خلق لناوي دجي ياك دو باركي شانا دركا انساني نياندرتال ناوي دوزرايتوا وچندين ديان جيجي شنواري وهاي دغمنمان هي لجيهان لكليره هي لقل او جيجا طبيعي و جيجي تاريخي زور.
With life in Baghdad and in the south of Iraq in general still extremely dangerous, you can really understand why people who live there would come here. There's such a sense of peacefulness and calm sat here beneath the citadel. But in disputed territories like oil-rich Kirkuk and Mosul, where travel is not advised, fighting still continues. Thousands of troops line the borders as some Kurds push for greater autonomy and even full independence for their state. And it's because of that tension that the region still has a hard time convincing the outside world it's different from the south.
General tourism is going to explode before very long. It can't quite happen yet, however, because the security isn't absolutely perfect, and that's not surprising. So don't travel unless you've got yourself well organised, you're with other people, your route is known, you've told people where you're going, you know what you're doing, and you're capable of handling the consequences.
This week is the 10-year anniversary of the US-led invasion. Today, the Kurds no longer fear persecution from Saddam Hussein, and instead of looking to the past, many now say they have the freedom to focus on their future. At least for now, the mountains where Kurdish fighters once hid from and battled with the former dictator lie in peace. Their beauty admired by Hamilton Road drivers, eager to see the place they call the other Iraq.
Theopis Skarlatos reporting from Kurdistan in northern Iraq. And if you're planning a trip there, do let us know. Drop us a line at our usual address, fasttrack@bbc.com. Now let's have a look at this week's news from the world of travel with Keith Wallace.
Firstly, while most of the world still struggles to take shampoo through security, US passengers will be allowed knives on board from April. Some airlines there say the new rules might compromise security, but officials say it's only for blades shorter than 6 centimetres and it frees them up to focus on looking for explosives. The world's largest telescope's been unwrapped this week in Chile's Atacama Desert. It's called ALMA. It's 16 kilometres in diameter, and scientists want to use it to find out how the solar system was created. If you fancy peering into some of the Milky Way's murkier recesses, tours are being planned from the beginning of next year. And a lovely story from London's Underground, not usually the most romantic of subterranean transport networks. A 40-year-old recording of a safety announcements being revived, so the announcer's widow can hear his voice again. Oswald Lawrence recorded "Mind the Gap" in the 1970s, but it was removed for something more modern in December. However, Oswald's widow came forward with her story, and bosses at Embankment were so touched they decided to reverse their decision.
Mind the gap.
Aw, a romantic story worthy of a film script, I'm sure you'll agree. Time for a short break now, but do stay with us because coming up, Carmen's here with her online check-in with news of a service that claims to want your skills in exchange for cheap or even free accommodation overseas. Plus, our reporter Greg Mackenzie braves sub-zero temperatures in Sweden at a very different type of hotel.
I think I could, this would be okay.
Hello and welcome to Online Check-In, the fast-track guide to all that's weird, wacky and worth your while in travel on the web and on your handset. I'm Carmen Roberts. Forget about those cheesy open-top bus tours. Most seasoned travellers will attest that one of the best ways to explore a city is on foot. Well, a new app claims to help you gauge how walkable an area is in cities like San Francisco, New York or London. Walkonomics uses open data and crowdsourcing to provide ratings for different categories of pedestrian friendliness, measuring how safe the roads are, how many hills, the level of crime, to how beautiful the area is. And although some of my street searches came back with multiple listings, and some will argue that the crime assessments might be subjective, it's a great concept for travellers wanting to walk off that double cream cheese bagel in New York or that bacon butty in London. For most of us, it's not enough to simply walk around and see all the obligatory sites. We also want to have a unique and local experience. In the last year, a slew of websites have popped up aggregating small and informal tours in destinations around the world. Variable.com claims to help tourists get off the beaten path. It's a community marketplace where you can discover, book and offer tours and unique activities, like discovering the underground bars and nightlife of Istanbul, a homeless tour of San Francisco, or go fishing with a Fijian king. The site claims to have secure payment, and although some guides might not be officially registered, Variable says they pre-screened each and every tour. I'd also be scrutinising those user reviews. Quirky is key, it seems, when it comes to tours these days. Kidsy.com is yet another startup claiming to have passionate individuals organising and booking activities in over 140 cities and 40 countries. You could jump on a Camp No bike tour in Barcelona or take part in a small guided tour of some of the secret sites around Auckland, New Zealand. Again, they offer secure online payment, but Gidzi is largely based on trust, although it does plug into Facebook, making it reasonably identity-driven. Oh, and it can't hurt that A-lister Ashton Kutcher is one of the backers. If only he were offering Hollywood tours. Travel is getting so social these days, from locals giving tours to opening the doors of their homes. This next site is a cross between Airbnb, couchsurfing and good old-fashioned bartering. StayDo.com lets people from around the world offer a room and board in exchange for either work, money or free of charge. For instance, you could volunteer to teach English or do farm work for a room, or simply pay a small fee to stay with a local. StayDo claims to be a culture-rich way of travelling on a slim budget. But as a single female traveller, I'd want to thoroughly vet my local lodgings first. If you've come across any handy websites or apps, drop me a line. The address is fasttrack@bbc.com. Or else you can write on our Facebook wall or send us a tweet. We're on Twitter too. I'm always on the lookout for good tips and ideas. It's Tweet of the Week time now, and Craig Platt from Fairfax Travel shared this video of the Harlem Shake on a plane. Passengers on board the Frontier Airlines flight from Colorado Springs to San Diego joined a local ultimate frisbee team shaking in the aisles. However, the suits at the Federal Aviation Administration are said to be far from amused. While some want to take the fun out of flying, Air New Zealand seem bent on giving their passengers a good laugh. They've roped in adventurer Bear Grylls to star in their latest airline safety video. I gotta hand it to them, I'm usually yawning during this part of the pre-flight routine, but this will certainly make passengers sit up and watch, and maybe even giggle. Enjoy, see you next time.
Make sure anything you're carrying is safely stuffed in the lockers overhead.
If the seatbelt sign does light up, nip back to your seat and clip into your seatbelt. Should fit snugly and be low across your hips, like this. If an oxygen mask suddenly drops down in front of you, pull down on the mask, place it over your nose and mouth, and tighten by pulling on both sides of the elastic.
Thanks, Carmen. We'll see you again next time. Now we're going to end today's programme at a hotel with a difference. In Sweden, Gothenburg to be precise, where there's no check-in, no Wi-Fi access, no spa, certainly no room service, but what it does have to offer, especially at this time of year, are sub-zero temperatures and the prospect of a really, really bad night's sleep. We sent reporter Greg Mackenzie to investigate for us.
Gothenburg calls itself the city of events. It's known for its annual film, TV and music festivals and has a population of 500,000. But take a walk off the tourist trail and you'll soon discover the forgotten people of Gothenburg. Homelessness is a real issue here. The Swedish Home Office estimates there are currently 3,500 people living on the streets in Gothenburg. To highlight the issues of homelessness, a unique campaign was launched by a street newspaper sold by homeless people in the city, offering the chance to join them and spend the night sleeping rough.
Some rooms are in tunnels, some rooms are actually outdoors, some rooms are in the woods just outside the city, so everywhere. We have a huge homelessness problem in Gothenburg. It's one of the worst cities to live in. It's actually the worst city to live in if you're homeless or socially excluded.
Having decided to give it a go myself, I began the process of booking a room at the homeless hotel. The rooms are budget friendly, but the amenities are rather unusual. In fact, 100 krona, around $15 gets a variety of options, from a sleeping bag under a bridge next to a dual carriageway to a filthy mattress in a derelict shed close to the Sävi and Guta rivers. Before checking in, I caught up with two magazine vendors who've been homeless in the city for more than 5 years.
Nobody wants to be homeless because it's hard, you know. You are freezing all the time if you don't have the clothes. You cannot lay down and sleep at night because something will happen then.
This is the spot then.
My room with a view is in the area of the city called Kungshøjd. Locals here call it Prostitute Alley. It's actually a small dog walking park behind a luxury set of apartments.
This is actually where you'll be spending the night.
What, here?
This is your room, yeah. Room service has not been here yet, but they'll get here and they'll set everything up.
I'm trying to remain cheerful and upbeat, but part of me knows this is going to be a very long night.
So Aaron, what about health and safety? I mean, obviously you're running a service, kind of. What happens there?
Well, we don't assume any responsibility. Basically, you're on your own when you book the room. And if you want to spend the night outdoors, you're welcome to do so, but you're on your own.
Nice.
And then, I guess, where do you want to go? Do you want to go in the corner? And
yeah.
I begin to bed down for the night, and given the temperature, -8, I've made sure I came prepared. My own sleeping bag, 2 jackets, a hooded top, 3 pairs of socks, and long johns.
An extra pair of gloves.
And I've also got company. Another guest has checked in to the homeless hotel. At least I won't be on my own.
I hope I could appreciate my things, my apartment, my bed, my shower, and everyday life as I'm used to it. I hope I would appreciate it more.
It's literally half an hour into the first night here at the homeless hotel. I'm with a guest, I'm not on my own. It's Hannah. Say hi, Hannah.
Hi.
We're enthusiastic now because it's the first half an hour, but it's very cold. It's -7. Okay, it's been an hour now since I've been here, and the cold is really starting to get to me. My hands, I can't feel my hands. They're just numb. I'm now sitting up, kind of thinking about this whole situation. My back's killing me, my toes are freezing, my fingers feel like they're going to drop off. I think the experience of sleeping rough has finally taken its toll. It's actually so difficult. It's not so bad having people walking their dogs all around you and kind of staring and gawping and taking photographs. It's the fact that it's just cold and boring. I kind of thought it'd be really easy, and oh yeah, I can sleep rough for a night, but I think it's time to say I've been defeated. Having spent 3 hours sleeping rough here last night, I realised just how difficult it must be for Sweden's homeless people. Now, fortunately, I had the choice to check into a hotel, unlike many of them who simply don't have that option. Since the homeless hotel launched back in January, more than 1,000 people have checked in. Although there are no figures to show how many actually stayed the night. All the money raised goes towards providing food and shelter to some of the city's homeless people. Rooms here can be booked all year round, but I don't think I'll be checking back in anytime soon.
Greg Mackenzie reporting from Gothenburg in Sweden. And that's it for this week. Next week we're taking a break ourselves, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time when Rajan reports from Mozambique. Here's a quick preview of what looks like an amazing trip.
Mozambique, a country escaping from the shadow of war and natural disaster and learning to cope with rapid economic growth. The country may well now be the epicenter of a new mining, energy and construction boom, but where does this new prosperity leave ordinary Mozambicans, many of whom still live under the poverty line? I'll be asking if the solution could come in the shape of the country's other boom sector, tourism.
Rajan in Mozambique, and you can see that programme in 2 weeks' time here on Fast Track. It looks like it's going to be a really good one. Until then though, don't forget you can keep in touch with the team and our travels on our Facebook, Twitter and Pinterest sites, and you can see the details of how to find those on your screen now. And that's also where you can post details of trips you've taken and any travellers' tips you've come across along the way. But until next time, from me, Fiona Foster, and the rest of the Fast Track team, wherever you're going next, have a good trip. Bye-bye.